speak here.
Well, welcome to the Angelina County GOP monthly meeting. Quite a good turnout tonight. We've got a lot of people that are new here. For those who don't know, I'm Michael McCracken. I'm the chair and the ringmaster of this wonderful circus. Not that we have any clowns, but we do have elephants. As is our typical way of doing this, we'll open with a prayer and then we'll do our pledges. So Gene Hazel is the pastor here at Fairbview Baptist Church, and we thank him for allowing us to borrow it. So, Gene?
My dear Presbyterian friend. I tell him he's the only Presbyterian friend I got. But that's because I don't know no others. Hey, we welcome you to Fairbview Baptist Church. Thank you for being here tonight with us. And let's just go to God in prayer as we begin this meeting here tonight. Father God, I come to you and I just come to you, Father, with a broken heart from what I see going on within our nation today. Our nation seems to be turning away from you rather than to you. Father, I pray that those of us who know Jesus Christ as our personal Savior, that we'll open our eyes, get our head out of the sand, and see what's happening to this great nation that you've blessed for years. I pray, Father, that those who are supporting these socialists that are out there trying to take over our country, Father, I pray that you would open the eyes of your people, that they would see that this is a ploy of the devil. And Father, you've given us 250 years of freedom, and if they get elected, that freedom is gone. So, Father, I pray that you'll move on the hearts of people, Father, to open their eyes to see what is going on around us. I pray, God, for this meeting here tonight, those who will be speaking, we just pray, God, that you'll just let us hear them with open hearts and open ears. I just pray, God, that you'll just be in this meeting here tonight. I pray for the Republican Party, Father. I know we got a lot of rhinos in it. I just pray, Father, that you'll just give us wisdom to sniff them out and vote them out of office, Father. So, Lord, we just commit this meeting to you tonight. I ask it in Jesus' name.
Okay, if you're standing, remain standing. If not, we will do our pledges. To the American flag, I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the Texas flag here for Germany.
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the United States, one state under God, one indivisible.
Remain standing because we have our scripture. No. Okay. We will move on. You may be seated because I don't have it memorized. You don't even get to see my neat slide about the elephant in the room, but anyway. Our mission here at the Republican Party of Angelina County is to make you the most informed voters that we can. And with that in mind, we have two events coming up. We've got a Get Others to Vote event coming up October 15. It'll be at the Texas Bible College. And those that remember 2 years ago, it was quite a turnout. We had about 300 people show up. So we are working hard for that, to put it together, and we're getting the list of speakers lined up. So block that out on your calendar. Also, October 15, it is a Thursday night. Then the Republican National Committee has decided to do a midterm convention. That's coming up in September. I don't remember the dates, 8th and 9th, but it's not important. What? 9 and 10. And it's in Dallas, and the cheapest ticket is $5,000, but you can volunteer to work at the convention. I think if you go to the Republican Party of Texas website, you can get that information. and that is texasgop.org. Find all kinds of information. And really, the reason for our Get Others to Vote rally is people that will be attending. Those are the committed folks. We've got to get the people that don't show up to get out to vote, because, quite frankly, our turnout has been slim, at least for the primary and for the runoff. We did turn out for the presidential election in 2024. We had a 61% turnout. That's not bad. Could be a lot better. I'm not going to tell you what it was for the primaries. It was low. Typical, but we need to work on that. The other thing that we have, we have two speakers tonight to inform you. The first one is going to be Tony Robertson, who is our SREC. For those that don't know the organization, it is State Republican Executive Committee, basically the board of directors for the Republican Party of Texas. So Tony, if you want to make a few comments, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to say I'm very proud of all you patriots here. The founding fathers would be ecstatic that patriots like you are meeting in a church. This is the way it's supposed to be. God's people getting together, understanding the rights that we were given, formed together to protect them, elect. You've been Presbyterians. No, I'm going to tell you what. Of 18 counties, I'm up here. Lydia's fighting a fight down south today, but we've not heard anything from Angelina County, so that's great. So there's no fight going on, so they're doing a great job. So thank you. Voter turnout. We've been discussing this with lots of groups and institutions. What is the problem? I don't know that I have the answer, but I've got a good idea. Is that we're tired. We had an election stolen from us. Then we had our candidate. They tried to kill him. They tried to imprison him. They tried to fine him. They tried to make him a rapist. And we fought like heck in the church. Fought like heck to get him in office. And we're tired. We fought hard. And then we had a runoff. And we fought hard on that. So we're tired. But here's the difference. These Democrats are fighting mad. Just like we were fighting mad, they're going to turn out like they're fighting mad. And so you got to get mad, because they're going to take this back from you piece by piece. And if you don't remember how red you were when all this stuff happened to our candidates, that's the way they're going to fight. So you got to put yourself on deadly ground. If you know Sun Tzu, you got to put yourself on deadly ground, and you got to fight that way. Turn out to vote. When you look at text messages, when you look at phone calls, which I hate most of those. If you look at flyers, which we seem to get a bunch of those, I've studied it because I'm with the Mighty American Strike Force. It's a great organization, MASF online. It puts you in contact where you can go door knock systematically. But here's the key. It is up to sometimes an 8% difference in turnout, 8%. So some of these races we're seeing they're won by a few percent. And I'd say like the money is spent on flyers. We've all seen that in the last, I could have wallpapered a house with that stuff. But go knocking on Republican doors. We don't want you to go change hearts and minds at this point. We don't want you to go talk with Democrats and cause problems. Go know who your Republican neighbors are. Go knock on the door. Tell them it's time to get mad, get up and get the vote. And we can hold on to our state. If not, some of these polls are scary. I don't know if I believe them, but they're scary. And maybe they're doing that to scare us, to get us up off our rear. So I appreciate this opportunity. Lydia would have been here tonight, but she's fighting a fire down in Orange County on the other end. So thank you again. I'm very proud of y'all for meeting in church. God bless you all.
Okay, our next speaker is Caleb Holmes. He is representing Ted Paxton. If you want to talk about an ugly fight going on, it's for the U.S. Senate. So, Caleb, we've got 5 minutes to give us the pitch.
Thank you, Michael. Howdy, everybody. For those of you who haven't had the chance to meet me, my name is Caleb Holmes. I'm the East Texas Director for Kim Paxton's campaign for the U.S. Senate. Thank you. I'm based out of Tyler, but Angelina County is a really big part of our operation. I cover everything from Texarkana, Kansas, all the way at the top of the map, all the way down to Beaumont and Port Arthur. So there's a lot of space to cover. But what I wanted to really talk about is how important this race is, especially how important it is knowing the margins that East Texas is responsible for. In 2018, when Ted Cruz ran for the Senate, which we all remember 2018, that was a very, very hard fight against Beto, but he won his entire campaign by 214,000 votes. Fortunately, in 2020, Governor Abbott won by about 800,000, and then Cruz won by about 900,000 in 2024. But this race is starting to make up a lot like the 2018 race looked. The polls, even though the only poll that matters is the poll that the people of Texas would take on November 3rd, but the polls are telling us that this race is neck and neck. The same way the polls were telling us that this race was neck and neck in 2018. And the Democrats are spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars the exact same way they did in 2018 to try to flip Texas. So we all have to be engaged. We all have to be partnering with everyone, all of our Republican groups, all of our Republican clubs, all of our grassroots, all of our candidates to get out there and bring out the vote. East Texas is uniquely important because in the 29 counties that are considered East Texas in 2024 alone casted 600,000 votes, 644,000 votes. And out of those 644,000 votes, about 500,000 of them were Republican votes. So in the general aspect, they only made up about 5% of the presidential margin, but out of the Republican votes, 30% of Republican voters come from East Texas alone. And so if the Republican voters, if your Republican neighbors go out there and vote, that 30% cannot sway any other way. That 30% has to vote Republican, or we lose Texas and we start to lose the nation. So my ask for you, and what I really need our mission to be collectively, because we're all in this fight together, is that our mission isn't the same to get, like in Houston or in Dallas, to talk to voters and get them, persuade them to vote Republican. Our mission is to talk to voters that we know are going to vote Republican, who say that they may stay home this election, or who said that they may not be interested in voting for a certain candidate. We have to remind them that any Republican on the worst day is better than any Democrat on the best day. And we all have to be engaged in that mission, whether that be knocking doors, whether that be calling phones. I've had great conversations with a lot of the leaders in the Angelina Republican Party so far, and they are enthusiastic about getting Ken Paxton elected and doing whatever it takes to get him elected. So our only ask for you is to keep that mission, keep that fight, keep that excitement, and please get with me so we can get you involved, whether that be phone calling, knocking doors, or hosting events. We'd love to have your support, and we appreciate everyone staying active and staying engaged.
Okay, everybody's probably tired of hearing me talk, so I'm going to give our featured speaker, Nate Sheets, who's running for the Agriculture Commissioner. And I've got a short bio here that he may like or not like, I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm going to read it. He is a fifth-generation Texan, a U.S. Navy veteran, conservative Republican, and a successful businessman who built the #1 branded honey company in America from one single backyard beehive. He's now running for the commissioner to bring real leadership, conservative values, and clean food reform to the people of Texas. And that's all I'm going to read. So we introduce Nate Sheets.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it. Well, good evening. It is great to be with you guys here this evening. It's actually great to be back on the campaign trail. I got to tell you, as soon as we won the primary in March, it was hard to go from full breakneck pace to just kind of sitting around in April and May and June. And so I was very excited when we got back inside the 100-day window so we could get back at it. Because we're more at danger in Texas than I think ever before. I was very appreciative for Caleb and the reflection of the future of Texas politics and the leadership in Texas. I'm very excited to see him doing the guy's 19 years old. I mean, he is incredibly sharp. But listen, It's a great reminder to remember who we're running against. And James Telefrico, as it says on here, let's just remember, he says that God is non-binary, that there are six biological sexes. And he thinks that guys being in girls' locker rooms is a conspiracy theory. You know, I was thinking back to the days of when Joe Biden was in office. And we would watch CNN. You guys probably wouldn't watch CNN. I watch them all because I want to know what the other side is saying. But we would watch CNN and they would say, there's no issue. Then you go over to Fox and you see what's really going on with thousands and thousands of people flooding into America on a daily basis and arms wide open. James Telefrico says that we should have the welcome mat open, welcoming everybody into America. We need to remember what the Biden years were like. I have an opponent that is a Democrat socialist that ran Bernie Sanders' organization in Texas for 9 years. Now, last Monday, I had the opportunity to debate the guy for an afternoon. And I'll tell you, he sounded a bit like Fauci taking the fifth as he stood up there and they would ask a question and his response was, monopolies, monopolies, monopolies. We have to break them up. We've got to organize the people and we have to organize the money. And when I thought about what he was really saying, I went back and I looked at the Bolshevik Revolution, the revolution in Mao's China, Vietnam, Cuba, Venezuela. And it's always the same playbook. Organizing the farmers, organizing the poor, organizing those that are less fortunate so they can help bring class equality. We even saw that they're talking about, let's make sure that we're taxing the billionaires up in New York City to make sure everybody else gets free housing and free Medicare and Medicaid. Universal Medicare for all. If you ever talk to a Canadian and they have a health issue, where do they come? America. Because we've seen what Medicare for all has done to their country. And it is a scary time in Texas when I've had 8, 9 county Republican chairs call us and say, the Republicans in our county are going to vote Democrat because they're now one-issue voters. Let me ask you guys, anyone in here concerned about data centers? I am. We all are. Mason's over here. It's great to see Mason. He and I have spoken on the phone quite a while. It's Save Rural Texas, right? Save Rural Texas is an organization that he started to help fight data centers, and especially up in Grayson County, up in Savoy, where the mayor has been fighting to fight back a very bad actor of a battery system data center company who has taken advantage of the liberties that we have in Texas of unincorporated areas. You know what? We have been gamed by a lot of data center companies that have gone in and have enjoyed the same freedoms that we all love in unincorporated areas inside of Texas and having property rights. That they go in and they are not accountable for anything because the county commissioning courts do not have the tools necessary to be able to manage industrial projects that come into their area. And I'll tell you, we ranch out in West Texas, and it is heartbreaking to drive through West Texas and you see solar farm after wind farm after wind farm. And we all know that the guy who has that solar farm or wind farm that sold that probably did pretty well. But what about all the people around them that have to look at those massive wind turbines across their ranch? And they're not compensated for that. And so we have to ensure that the future of data centers or wind farms or solar farms in Texas isn't done at the expense of Texas. It's not done at the expense of rural communities that are concerned about their water, that are concerned about their ag land, and that are concerned about the power grid and the improvements on that being passed on to every single household. I am just as concerned as you are. But I also recognize the powers as a Texas Agriculture Commissioner that I have and what I do not have. I don't have the ability to go in and ban data centers. I don't have the ability to go in and tell county commissioners what to do. And despite what my Democrat socialist opponent says, 10 farmers cannot get together and create an agriculture conservation district like you do for a conservation water district. That's not a true solution. But the solution is, one, to use the bully pulpit as the Texas Agriculture Commissioner to continue to raise the concern for Texas rural agriculture and families and farms and to preserve that into the future of Texas. Because that is what Texas is. Texas farms and Texas families that are producing Texas food for all of us. The one thing that we do have the power as the Texas Agriculture Commissioner is to address what I believe is the real issue that we have in agriculture today. And it's the fact that farmers and ranchers cannot afford to be in business any longer. We lost 68 farms this week in Texas. And last week, and the week before. We lose 1,000 acres a day of agriculture land. And everybody's always quick to ask, well, why? What's going on? It's typified by a visit I had with a Beaumont rice farmer who said that he was a 5th-generation rice farmer. His land was given to him free and clear, like by his dad, like his dad did to him, and his dad did to him all the way back 5 generations. But he said, you know what, Nathan? This is going to be the last generation. Not because he didn't have kids. He had kids. They just didn't want anything to do with the business that they saw their father struggling. And he said, now I have millions of dollars of debt on my land. Because I just did what I did last year and the year before, and I just sold my rice crop for 40% less than it actually cost me to make it. 40% less than it actually cost them to make it. I mean, think about any business that you're in. If every time you did your service, or every time you produced your product, or every time you sold a meal in your restaurant, you sold it for 40% less. And it doesn't take very long for us to figure out that's not sustainable. We talk about sustainability in agriculture, and that's not sustainable. And that really is the base reason why we lost 68 farms this week. The consolidation that's happened in agriculture over the past 20 years, where a farmer used to be able to have 100 seed companies that he could buy from. Now he has a handful. Used to have 100 equipment companies. Now there are only a couple. Used to have hundreds of buyers. Now there's only a handful. We've seen it in the meatpacking industry, where in 1970 there were 700 meatpacking plants all across Texas. And today, how many are there? 4. 4 meatpacking companies that control 85% of the meat in America. In 1970, a rancher could make 70 cents of $1 of food produced, and then the meat packer would make 30 cents. Today, the meat packer makes 70 cents, and the rancher makes 30 cents. And 2 of the 4 companies that control 85% of the meat market in America are owned by Brazilian companies. So they're not even U.S. companies. And the risk to America, the national security risk, is that we are far more reliant upon adversarial countries and non-adversarial countries to be involved with how we feed ourselves in America than ever before. Over the past couple of weeks or past couple of months, think about all of the foodborne illness outbreaks that we have seen. Salmonella, Listeria, Cytoplasma. I mean, it's just continuing to crop up. But that is also a result of consolidation of agriculture and being reliant upon countries like Mexico that are growing so much of our produce. And so when you have a farmer down in Mexico who doesn't have the same regulatory requirements in America, he doesn't have the USDA, the FDA, and the EPA to making sure that they produce food properly and safely and cleanly, and we don't have any certification process once that food comes into America, then we see thousands and thousands and thousands of people get sick and even die from foodborne illness. So relying upon other countries to be involved with how we feed ourselves in America becomes a national security risk. But the other part that relates to the food is the impact of the food on our health. To where over the past 40, 50 years, we've been in pursuit of cheap, inexpensive calories in America, and we've been pursuing that with ultra-processed food. But those cheap calories aren't very cheap when you think about the impact. Where 70% of all Americans have one chronic disease or more, 78% of children 18 to 25 cannot serve in the military related to the food that they eat and their health. And we spend $4 trillion a year treating symptoms of diseases related to the food that we eat. So that pursuit of cheap calories has not been very cheap. It's been very expensive. So as a Texas Agriculture Commissioner, the thing that I can do, the tools that I have actually that really try to have a solution to stop the advancement of data centers, to stop wind farms, solar farms, is to be able to help keep farmers and ranchers in business and to start to change the economics of this. So how do you do it? That's the big question. Well, there's a program called the Go Texan program at Texas Department of Agriculture. I started with one beehive in my backyard in 1997 after my wife and I got married. She said we needed a hobby together. We were newlyweds, so I bought a beehive. And ladies, no, that was not the hobby she was thinking about. And so after I bought that beehive, I was on the phone, I hung up, I realized we live in an apartment, so I called my parents and asked if I could put a beehive in their backyard. But that one beehive turned into today was Angelina, the largest honey company in America, maybe the world. We'll buy 100 million pounds of honey this year. We're sold in 30,000 grocery stores with the #1 brand. We have 120,000 beehives. I own Nature Nates in Australia. So when I started Nature Nates way back when, I was a member of the Go Texan program. And the only value it really has to a producer is a logo. The logo does nothing, honestly. But in 2020, when the Sunset Commission reviewed the Texas Department of Agriculture and said, hey, these are the things you're doing right, but here are the things you're doing wrong. The #1 complaint that the Oversight Committee had, not complaint, observation, was that the Go Texan program was the most underutilized tool that we have in the Texas Department of Agriculture to help producers actually stay in business. So we're going to take that program and we're going to create a robust agriculture marketplace to where if you are a consumer, we are going to help you find a producer that has and grows the types of food that you want to purchase. And I'll tell you what, the way that we begin to start to curb the quality of the food is you get a bunch of moms buying from a farmer, and you know what they do? They ask lots of questions. How do you make it? What do you put on it? What chemicals do you use? And before you know it, those farmers are going to realize, oh, this is really important to them. I should think about how I produce things differently. So it becomes a free market solution. Last Monday, when I was with my opponent on the other side, every solution he had was about giving the government control and power over farmland in Texas and letting them decide what can and can't be done. And I said to them in the very beginning, I said, listen, you're going to hear a lot of the commonalities between us because the problems are the same. We recognize the challenges that we have, but the solutions are night and day difference. I'm a free market capitalist that believes that the best of America is the people that sit in the audience and as a government. We need to deregulate, we need to lower fees, and we need to be able to make a predictable business environment where people can invest and know that the government's not going to come in and take anything away. His idea is to let the government come in, take over these big companies, break up monopolies, and let the government be in charge of business. It is a night and day difference. That is what concerns me for the future of Texas when I saw the new social media platform, Republicans United for Clayton Tucker. Clayton Tucker is the Democrat socialist that I'm running against. And what's even more concerning is that our current Republican agriculture commissioner is campaigning with the Democrat. I had dinner at the governor's mansion last Tuesday in Austin with all the statewide talking about this fall's campaign. And that same day, across the street at the Capitol, Sid Miller was with Clayton Tucker doing an anti-data center rally on the steps of the Texas State Capitol. I sent to Dorinda, the new chair, GOP chair in Texas, RPT, a social media post that Clayton Tucker made of him standing there and being interviewed with this guy, and the guy said, and the most amazing part, the Democrat socialist ag commissioner candidate is actually supported by the current Texas Department of Agriculture Republican commissioner. And Clayton Tucker just stood there and smiled. Pastor, you said there are rhinos in the Republican Party, and we used to know Sid Miller as the rhino hunter. He has redefined what rhino is in Texas. And I have always had great respect for Commissioner Miller before, but unfortunately, whatever good he has ever done, he is so hell-bent on making sure that he can burn the ship down going out the door. He does not care what happens in Texas. So we need to fight more than ever before. The primaries were ugly. I'll tell you what, being a business guy, about halfway through those primaries, I realized this is why business people don't get into politics, because it is a blood sport. It's ugly. And I was so frustrated in the primary, but I just came to realize after the primary, now it's time to be united. And there was bloody knuckles coming from Ken and John Cornyn. But at the end of the day, whether you love Ken or whether you love John Cornyn, Ken Paxton is our Senate nominee to be the next senator for the state of Texas. And regardless of what we think, we got to get behind him, because this is so much more than just Ken Paxton. This is so much more than Governor Abbott. This is so much more than Nate Sheets. This is about us, Texas, the crown jewel that keeps America red. So they're coming, guys. They're going to put hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into Texas. You have George Soros gave $100 million to help seed the anti-data center movement across America. Listen, I'm not pro-data center, but we have to remember that these people are going to do and say whatever they have to do and say to get control. But if you remember what the control was like, don't forget Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, Joe. Clinton actually looks like a Republican now. I mean, I think all of us might vote for Clinton today compared to the wacko socialist party that's out there. And so I would just implore you guys, there's a lot of low propensity and mid-level propensity people that are not going to get out and vote, and we need to get them to the polls. Those are the people that we need. Abbott has a great app. You can go download it, the Abbott app. And you can go put your contact information in there, and then it'll say, do you want to give me access to your contacts? We'll say yes. And it will show you all of your neighbors nearby that vote Republican, and it will inform you whether they have voted or not. So you can watch them, and then you can encourage them, and you can contact them through the app. You can go out and do a bulk text message to all those people and to be able to get them out. And you can watch as early voting happens and as general election time happens to make sure that we can get those people out. It's the Abbott, like Governor Abbott, the Abbott app, ABBOTT. Abbott Impact, yes, sorry. Yeah, Abbott Impact app. So go download it. It's for all of us. We're using it for the campaign. It's a great tool. The governor wants as many people using it as he can. But now's the time. Now it's time. And I need your help. We need you guys help getting the word out. We need help fundraising. You know, it is, it's tough out there right now. There's a lot of affordability issues that are impacting people, all of us in this room. When you're paying $5 a gallon for diesel, like we paid filling up our truck coming down here. I looked at the thing, it was like $145 to fill it up coming down. So that makes it a tough environment for everybody. But it also reminds us what we're fighting for. Because we might think that these high gas prices are there because of the war in Iran. The high gas prices are there because of the horrible policies under Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Kamala Harris. These energy policies of subsidizing these windmills and these solar farms came from the Democrats. The reason why electricity is so expensive because we've gone away from using natural gas and other very efficient means of energy production, and they have straddled us with the Green New Scam. And our Democrat opponent embraces the whole Green New Deal, thinks it's the greatest thing in the world. And actually, when he was running for the Senate seat last time he was running, kid's a professional campaigner. He's 30 years old, lives with his mom. I think she bought his cowboy hat for him. And he said he's a beekeeper because his mom bought him a beehive. But he totally thought that every farm should be required to have a wind farm or a solar panels and a windmill. So every farm was net zero contributor to the climate scam. So let's just remember who he is. He isn't our friend, and he isn't going to represent the interests of Texans, especially Texans on the right. So I'd love to take any questions. If you're thinking about a question, I will just tell you yesterday, I was with Brooke Rollins. Everybody's got concerns about the screwworm. So we were down in McAllen, and they're getting ready to open the border again to allow limited amounts of cattle to come through. And so they're going over, here's the process to be able to bring those cattle in. It's very specific, very intentional, and they're not going to allow New World screwworm to get in any more than it's already in. I will tell you that, 73 days ago was the first case in Texas of New World screwworm. And as of today, there are 5 active cases in Texas. That is amazing. They have 100 million flies they've been getting down out of Panama of sterilized male flies every week. And they have been positioning those drops of the male flies where the outbreaks happen. And so just quick review. New World screwworm is a fly that lays a maggot that burrows inside and eats living flesh from the inside out. And so the female hatches after 4 days. She hatches, she's fertile, she mates once in her lifetime, and then she can go out and lay 3,000 eggs. The way we have always beat it in the past was sterilizing male flies with radiation, and then we take those sterilized male flies, drop them into an area where there's an outbreak, and when that female goes to mate, she mates with a sterilized fly, not a fertile male, and so she doesn't know, and so it just dies out over time. And so they have one facility in South Texas that burned down. We've been relying upon a facility down in Panama, Mexico, because of all of the mass migration. Thank you, Joe Biden. And the cartels taking cattle from South America and circumventing and bringing them up into Mexico. That's how we got the outbreak here. The amazing part is it hasn't gotten into wildlife. There's not been one wildlife outbreak. No deer, no fawns, no pigs, nothing. So that is very encouraging. In some of the places where there was an outbreak, it's been on like one localized ranch. So we've got a new facility in Mexico. Now they're giving, I think they're doing another 10,000 a week, and within a few months, it'll be another 100 million a week. So we'll have 200 million. And here's the great part. The facility that's being built down in Moore in McAllen was supposed to be open at the end of 2027, which doesn't do us a lot of good. Now it's scheduled to be open April 21st, 2027. So let's all pray for a great and quick and heavy winter. And that will help keep the fly at bay down into South Texas. And then come the spring, we're going to have hundreds of millions of flies to go and attack it. And we're going to beat this just like we beat it in the past. And so I do want to give the kudos to John Bellinger, who's one of the Board of Regents at Texas A&M. He is the private sector representative. He's been in the food testing business, built lots of labs, and he has helped cut the 8 months off of the construction time, as well as Admiral Schmoyer with APHIS and Brooke Rollins with USDA. They've been doing a great job. And so I just can't commend them more. So that's probably the other pressing thing that people want to know. But beyond that, I would love to hear and respond to any questions or concerns that you guys have. Yes, ma'am.
Do we not have a major processing plant in Texas?
Food processing?
Food processing?
Meat processing by China. Well, so there's Tyson, there's JBS, National Beef, and Cargill. And so those are the four major meat packers. And so, Tyson and Cargill are U.S. companies, and JBS and National Beef are Brazilian companies. But I'm sure somewhere inside of the ownership structure, there is some Chinese investment. There is a very large agriculture company that operates inside of Texas, one of the big ones, that is owned by the Chinese Communist Party, and their headquarters is in Beijing, China. So I'm not sure, there might be something else. I'll look that up and see if there was, but it's those four primary ones. Yes, sir.
Sir, I want to thank you for stepping up and running for the people of Texas and against the communism that is up against all of us and our posterity. You mentioned the website Republicans for Clayton Tucker. I've got a website, comradeclayton.com. Could you bring that up real quick? Because I think that has the power to get your name out to more people so they can see the contrast, and it's going to bring more Republicans to vote for you, I'm sure. We can
I'm
just
so
get it out
glad that
there.
you brought that up and not me. No, but do go to comradeclayton.com. And it's not me saying what Comrade Clayton is. It's Comrade Clayton in his own words. And so we just went out over the past 5 years, when you're a Bernie Sanders staffer for our revolution, you say a lot of things that would be counter to what you were saying if you're thinking you can get a bunch of Republicans to vote for you. So comradeclayton.com. Thank you, brother. I'll pay you $5 later. Yes, ma'am.
When you get elected, I have two questions. When you get elected, will you please do something for my leg? Really soon? You can only eat the fish maybe 2 days out of the whole month.
Are they spraying for?
No, they say it's coming from Dallas on the Trinity River Authority. That's what they're telling us. It's a runoff from the farms up to Dallas.
Yeah, I will look into that, James. Write that down. I would eat anything out of a lot of lakes in Texas. I know Caddo Mills. I know you got a second question. I think it's Caddo Mills that there is I'm trying to remember the plant. Some plant that's covering up thousands and thousands of acres. And someone sent me. No, it's not hydrilla. It's something else. It's from Brazil. But they look like they have a water cannon shooting these pesticides or these herbicides out into the lake, to kill it.
Snail?
Huh?
Snail?
No, it's not snail. Yeah, that's it. Giant sylvania. Thank you. And so I actually met the guy. I was down meeting with aquaculture, believe it or not, down on the Gulf Coast. And the guy that has the state contract for 8,000 to 10,000 lakes in Texas has the contract for spraying for that and others. And so they are incentivized to dump as many chemicals into there as possible. They get paid by the gallon. And so it's just as backwards. And so being an absolute lover of all things, I love the fish, I love the lakes. It's not my area, but it's an area that I'm going to get into because I think it's really, really, really important for us to be able to enjoy our lakes, but also, trust the water. This is, let's all remember there's one natural lake in Texas, Caddo Mills. and everything else was built for water supply to the Texas population. And so again, it just seems a little backwards, but we're going to work on that. What's your second question?
Your debate on Monday, is it videotaped where we can get on?
Yeah, it's where's Sophie?
I have a question.
The video debate from last week.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, we'll send that over. But it was with the Freedom and Ranch Farm Alliance, and so they are a very progressive left group. And so it was Clayton's people, and they would let him pine on, and I'd start to answer, and they cut me off about 60 seconds later. And but we definitely held our own, and we had no errors and no fouls. And so we felt like we came out, winning. Yes, sir.
Okay, I wrote something down here, but I guess.
This is the reporter. Here we go.
Well, no, but the question I have for you is, one of the most important things right now is water, the rules of capture going into the next legislature, and also the fact that the transport of water to what I'm hearing out of Austin is Texas is going to take care of Texas. And I've always thought that one thing that we have is the rainforest of Texas over here is an ample supply of water, and that in the future that the growth will come to Lufkin and come to Angelina County because the restrictions on water use in Austin per se, where I can't water my yard more than one day a week, and I can't wash my car in the driveway ever. It's illegal. So my question to you is, as an agricultural commissioner going into the legislature next year, what is your role in seeing not only protecting the farmers' water, but also Texas's water, and also the changes of rules of capture?
Yeah, not being a legislator, it's I actually cannot lobby for legislation. I go as a private citizen and represent my own opinions on legislation. But I know that the right of capture, the concern is what's going on out here in East Texas with the bass, and then him being able to pump out 12 million gallons a day or some unbelievable amount of water. And so just making sure that maybe the same type of rules that we have in the oil and gas industry, that we could apply them over into the water industry to make sure that your neighbor's ability to have a well isn't negatively impacted. And I think that needs to be part of the consideration of in ensuring that things like that don't happen. Water is the issue in Texas. And it depends on what part of Texas you're in. In South Texas, you just want Mexico to give the water that's in the treaty. And these farmers down in the Rio Grande Valley, they need to be able to water, 3 inches twice a week or once a week or every 2 weeks. But now they're doing like half an inch because they can't get the water from Mexico. Then you come out to East Texas, you got right of capture. You come up to North Texas, you got property rights and eminent domain, and them coming in and taking farmland to build reservoirs, Marvin Nichols specifically, to feed Dallas. Then you go out to West Texas, and you've got the issue with produced water. Produced water is the water that comes out of the ground from fracking, but it's contaminated. Now here is the great news about that. There are 26 million barrels of produced water that come out of the Permian Basin every single day. 26 million barrels. I can calculate it, that's 500 billion gallons a year. They have been working to clean up that water to be able to make it potable. I was just at the West Texas Legislative Summit, and Senator Charles Perry, who's the chairman of the Ag Committee, has been working on the water issue across Texas. And this week, they were going to open a new desal plant over in far West Texas that will clean up a lot of that produced water. And so he said to the crowd, today I would drink that water out of a cup. So if we can take that water, get it cleaned up, make it potable, use it in agriculture, we can take West Texas and turn it to the Garden of Eden. I mean, that's a lot of water. And so there's a lot of areas that we're working to really overcome. We need desal down on the coast. especially down at Corpus, and those areas. Will be in Corpus tomorrow, down with cotton growers, and they're just out of water. But the city council is so dysfunctional in Corpus Christi that they cannot get out of their own way, and they just keep blowing themselves up. So water is the big issue, and something that we have to address. And all the more reason why it's important on the data centers. But I will tell you that if we don't want data centers because we don't want water, then we should also consider golf courses and maybe farms, because they use a lot more water. And so we just need to be thoughtful about, we don't want to create precedents like giving counties control or that can impede our property rights, that at some point in the future, we have to go get a building permit to build a barn on our farm, which then they come in and reassess our taxes. So, these are all things that we just have to be really thoughtful of to make sure that we don't set ourselves up for some disaster in the future. There's another question I saw here.
Oh, it was me.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. You're doing a wonderful job, but I'm older and you went too fast.
Okay.
On the Abbott impact. Could you spell that?
Yeah, it's ABBOTT impact, IMPACT.
No .com.
No, it's just an app. So go to your app store if you have an iPhone, or go to the other one.
I'll help you, Kat.
Release the McCracken.
So much, Michael.
I was going to work it in one time. I was just waiting. Watch out, I'll pull that Medusa head up. Did you get it? Okay, look, Sophie. Sophie is my daughter and my campaign manager. I'll tell you, there is nothing more fun than traveling around with your daughter around the state of Texas, doing this. And all of her three brothers are pretty salty about it. They're like, but other questions? Anything else? See, I want to walk out of here and then hear any more. I might vote for Clayton Tucker. Listen, we gotta comradeclayton.com. Send it to people that are confused. Mason and I asked Mason, I said, hey, would you set up a Zoom call with all the anti-data center people around Texas? Because I want to hear from them. I want to hear their ideas. I don't want to hear complaining and griping. I want to hear solutions. Yes, sir.
I would reconcile with the fact that none of us want data centers, but we're all creating demand for it.
Last time I said that, I almost got stoned like Jesus. I told these people, I said, if you don't want data centers, stop coming on my Facebook page and complaining. Because we are creating, the very need. I think, honestly, as a dad, Sophie's youngest brother is 19. He's at Ole Miss, left today. Mom was actually ready for him to go after being here all summer. But I've had conversations with Sam. He's like, Dad, what should I study in school? And I said, whatever it is, it should be AI proof. And I think all of us have some level of angst. I think the younger you are, maybe the more angst you have, because you don't really know what's the impact of AI going to be in the future on my career. If I'm a marketing person, a finance person, insurance adjuster, you name it. It is being impacted and going to be impacted. And the crazy part, when you see the data companies starting to lay off their employees, they've been building their own gallows, and now they're starting to feel it. And I think data centers themselves are the physical representation of the angst that all of us feel. And I do have to tell you, as a follower of Christ, as a believer, I do take great comfort in Matthew 6, where Jesus says, don't worry about where you're going to sleep or what you're going to eat or what you're going to wear, but seek first the kingdom and my righteousness, and I'll add everything else to you. And listen, that's whether it's data centers, that's whether I'm a dad, that's whether I'm the ag commissioner. And the only thing I can really do as the ag commissioner is try to seek after God and keep his commandments. Because Deuteronomy 28 is the verse that Abraham, or that George Washington opened the Bible to and put his hand on when he swore in as the first president of the United States. And I think that was a symbolic gesture to say, I don't know what being a president is, it's not been a job description. I'm not a king, I'm a farmer. And as a farmer, I can't make it rain, but I know the one who can. Because Deuteronomy 28 says that if you seek after me and keep my commandments, I will send the sun and the rain. Your animals will have lots of babies. Your crops will be abundant. You'll be the head and not the tail. You'll be the lender and not the borrower. And your enemies will be at peace with you. And I think George Washington was saying, I have no idea how to lead a country, but I can lead us in that. And that's what I desire. You know, they asked me that debate or somewhere. They said, what's the one thing you hope to be able to walk away with and say? And I said that I actually lived out Deuteronomy 28. Because I remember when Rick Perry, when we had that massive drought when he was the governor, and they said it was going to take years for all the lakes to fill up. And Rick Perry went down to Houston, went to the Astrodome and said, let's pray. And we had a prayer meeting, and within a month, every lake in Texas was full. And so I can't make it rain as the ag commissioner, but we can be in relationship with the one that does. And that's how we need to lead in Texas. That's how I need you to hold me accountable, encourage me. You know, if you see me doing something you don't like, call me, text me, reach out to me. Don't complain. Because like iron sharpens iron, so the countenance of one person sharpens another. And the old thing, the ironing sharpened the ironing, it was you took a blade and you used a dull blade to use that other blade to knock off everything that wasn't the sharp blade that was already there. You just had to discover it. But it took an existing sharp blade to make the other blade sharp. So some days you're going to be sharp, I'll be dull. Some days I'll be sharp and you'll be dull. But together we can save Texas.
Following up on that analogy, I must be dull an awful lot. Anyway, no, thank you. Our next meeting is going to be, at least as of now, the third week of the month, September 15th. If it changes, you'll get the notice, etc., because some of us are going to be down at the convention. And the plan is to have those of us that went to kind of give you guys a report, unless we come up with somebody really cool to talk again, other than me. So, September 15, as of now, stay tuned. So, any questions of me? Good. I move that we adjourn. Thank you very much.
Good. You care.